Hello and welcome to the X-Files Revisited. We are now on to Season 3. We're zipping along now, Brian. Just quickly before we start, I don't think I remember anything about Season 3 at all. Nothing jumps out at me. There's no standout episodes in my mind, so I feel as if this is completely blank as what I'm going into. So give me a brief sort of breakdown of what there is to look forward to and what not to look forward to.
Okay.
But no spoilers.
First off, I do think this is a much more solid season than Season 2. And given that we gave Season 2 a better grade than Season 1, I don't know, that could go either way, because we got to the end of Season 2 and you kind of thought it wasn't or shouldn't be. So, yeah, I don't know. Standouts for me that I foresee coming. I kind of don't want to do this now because, I did it for Season 2 and it kind of backfired a bit with Irresistible. Irresistible was a guaranteed top 5 spot. So, yeah, I guarantee nothing. I'll say that much. But Pusher, I expect to be in my top 5. Too Shy, I expect to be in my top 5, depending on how that dates. That hinges quite a bit on social media and stuff. So yeah, I don't know how that will hold up. We get 2 Darren Morgan episodes in this one. Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose, which is coming very soon, actually. So that's not that far away. It's probably going to be a standout for the season. And another one of his, Jose Chung's From Outer Space, which is about as wacky as it sounds, quite frankly. So... And
what about Stinker? Is there a notable stinker here?
There is a couple of stinkers that, if my memory serves me correctly, they're very close together. Now, if you remember what we said about Season 2, I felt personally that a lot of the problem with the stinkers in that season is that they always sandwiched them together. So by the time you got to a very good one, you kind of felt like you'd been abused too much to fully appreciate and enjoy it. But thankfully not too much of that here. But Teso dos Bichos, if that's even how you pronounce it, and one called Hell Money. I believe they may even come right after one another. I can't quite remember the order, but yeah, they're not good. I'm not looking forward to them. So.
And do you think there's an episode in here that's weird and wacky and derived by the X-Files fan base that I'm just going to love?
Derive. Like, do you mean like the X-Files fan base hates? You mean?
Yes.
Oh man!
Like an hour time.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I wish you'd asked me this before we went on, actually, just so I could skim over the episodes. Because, see, off the top of my head, I think one of those 2, Teso dos Bichos and Hell Money. If you like either one of those 2, then I would be very, very surprised. They pretty much get slated across the board by X-Files fans. So, yeah, I think they're the ones to watch in that regard. But no, Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose, Too Shy for me. I don't think Too Shy is quite as loved as much as, say, like I think of it. But Pusher's a standout. I think most X-Files fans like Pusher from this season, so yeah.
Okay, and after our cliffhanger ending of Season 2, we are back with part 2 of this episode, which is episode 1, The Blessing Way. So, why don't we just jump straight into it?
Okay, so we pick up on the burning train car with an Albert Hosteen voiceover talking about the truth being hidden in memory and those who wish to extinguish memory in order to bury the truth. So he's one of those characters, isn't he? That everything he says kind of sounds like an enigma, and you feel like you've got to read between the lines. But actually, if you listen to what he's saying, that's essentially what he's saying, which is that there is truth buried in memory, and there are those out there who would seek to hide that truth by destroying the memory of it.
It's the X-Files version of Yoda.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. So Cancer Man breaks in with his cronies to Albert Hostein's house. Basically, he doesn't mess about, because in there starts butting people. Well, he doesn't personally. His men do start kind of, yeah. Hostein takes quite a knock to the face with the butt of a gun. It's pretty brutal. And Albert he just says he doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. So there's not much that Cancer Man can do with that. But Scully shows up looking for Mulder, and she goes to the quarry because they direct her to the quarry. And she just finds nothing but a burnt out train car, and just starts shouting for Mulder. Mulder! Which is she's so often fond of doing in the show. Mulder! Scully! Mulder! Kind of becomes a running joke in the series, to be honest.
I kind of like the scene with Cancer Man because he loses his cool. You know, he's in people's faces. He's very angry, animated, not like the kind of Cancer Man that we've seen before. You know, just stoically sitting in the back of a room smoking a cigarette and just looking nasty. This one, he's still as nasty, but he's just in the face. And I like the fact that he's out of an office, like actually part of the team. This is so important that he is there to make sure that things get done right. And I'm watching this part and I'm thinking he's almost like the Joker in the Dark Knight, because I feel as if he's going to kill every one of those guys that are helping him as soon as the mission's finished. You know, he's there to lock down what needs to be locked down, and then just everybody else is just going to disappear.
We get some of that throughout the series. That's coming. That's coming, I'll tell you.
So, good opening.
Yeah. So Scully gets pulled over by a military chopper, and they frisk her and take the paper files. But Mulder has the DAT copy, Scully says. So,
first of all, she gets pulled over by a helicopter. Loved it. I don't know what else to say. She gets pulled over by a helicopter. Several men jump out. They open the boot to find the one perfectly placed file. You know, it's not. Yeah,
it's a really clean boot, isn't it?
It's really
like you open my boot, there's a pram in there. There's a box full of bits. There's a blanket. There's all kinds. Yeah, it's literally the cleanest looking boot you've ever seen, with a file just placed in the middle.
Single file. It's not moved while it's been driving. Nothing's came loose. It's just there. It's perfect. And but I do kind of like the fact that they have the helicopter land in front of the car. It's nice production values.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, I once, whenever someone says production values, just a complete side note, it always reminds me of my tutor at university, who this is in a TV production degree, and somebody mentioned production values, and my tutor was like, "What does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything." And I'm like, it kind of does.
Yeah.
It means that you're getting value on screen for your money. It means that what you've spent on it on screen, it looks more than what you've spent on it, hence production value. So but whenever somebody says that term, that always just randomly pops into my head. But
I think you should track him down and just tell him he was wrong. I want you to tell him from me, say some guy on the internet said he was wrong.
So Scully is called into a meeting where she is suspended. She leaves the room and Skinner follows her. She has a go at him, says And he says they'll find out what happened to Mulder. To which she replies, "I think you overestimate your position in the chain of command."
It's I kind of like these arguments more than I do the Mulder Skinner ones, because it seems like Scully is a lot more, smarter about the way she argues. She uses reasoning. She uses statements like that to really just get under his skin. She's almost manipulating, and but always being very passive in her body language and the way she's putting the comment across. I think it's a really nice acting job that she does whenever she does these comments.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, we have the Skinner who almost seems apologetic when he's talking to Scully.
Well, it's the Skinner who's caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Skinner, isn't it? It's the Skinner who wants to help but can't because he's in this office full of these douchebags who are basically his superiors. So
yeah, and it's just weird that he's an assistant director of the FBI, but he always seems to have these offshoots in his office where somebody's just hanging about listening, it seems.
Yeah.
Just a weird idea.
Yeah, no, I feel you. So Scully goes to Mulder's office to look for the DAT tape, because if you remember in the previous episode he taped it under the desk, but it's not there, it's missing. And we go from there to the syndicate.
Hang on. Right. Somebody's went to the bother to finding the tape, taking it out of the case, and then sellotaped the case back under the desk. Why?
Now hear me out. Here's if we have this ritual in which, one of us explains something and the other one says, yeah, it's a lot of supposing. But maybe they put it back under the assumption that Mulder or Scully might check that it's there still by simply putting their hand under the desk and going, "Oh, it's still there. We're good." So maybe just to buy more time from being caught that it had gone. I don't know. I don't know why they'd even need to hide the fact that it's gone. But that would be my guess. Is
that's
with
some mighty big supposing.
Yeah, that's a mighty big supposing. It is, but okay. So we go to the syndicate, and Cancerman says that the files have been found. So he's basically lying his ass off to his people. At this point, we're never truly sure who is in charge, who's the number one dude. Because although there are power plays all the time, you get feeling people kind of trying to stamp their own authority in this group. So at the moment, during this episode, Cancerman's authority, however much he has, is kind of on a bit of thin ice because these files have gone missing. But he says they've been found.
I like whenever it goes to this, it's like a generic gentleman's club. They're all there with their liquor and their cigars, and it just has that kind of smoky, seedy feel about it. But I never considered the syndicate as actually having a head. I almost thought of it as a council, a group of people kind of voting on things. That's the way I kind of feel.
Well, yeah, like if you look at them all, listen to them all talking and look at them, they're all different nationalities. So you've got the British guy, you've got the Hispanic guy, you've got obviously Cancerman being the American. So you get the sense that each one of these guys is the representative of a wider global network. At least that's what I get. It seems to be that's what you get based on what you just said. But so Cancerman says it's been found, and he also says that Mulder is dead, but will be listed as missing. And all the while that he's kind of spinning these lines, John Neville, otherwise known as the well-manicured man, is kind of sat there listening. Yeah, I know. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue like Cancerman, does it? No. Cancer Mountain. I can't remember what the other dude's called. So the Hispanic, the chubby one, is like, talks like this all the time, like he's a member of a Godfather group or something. Yeah, that guy. I can't remember what he's called. It will crop up at some point though. But yeah, he becomes a bit of a major player as the series goes on. And yeah, but John Neville, what a coup for the casting there. You know, get this guy who's worked with Terry Gilliam quite a bit. Has been in a lot of British kind of period stuff, but yeah, really fine actor, and I love him in this role. You know, for the duration that we have him. So
he's one of those actors that you look at and you go, I know him from something, and I just couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he is definitely. He's just got a lot of gravitas. He's one of those guys who just all he needs to do is just stand there and talk, and you're kind of lured in by the silkiness of his voice. But yeah, cracking stuff. So Scully goes to her mum's house and she's a bit upset, and she says she's made a terrible mistake. So
what is her terrible mistake? What has she done? Is it facilitating Mulder's hunt?
I think so, yeah. Just see, when I was watching it, I got a sense of what her terrible mistake was, and now that you've just asked me, I'm like, what was it? Have I read anything? No. But I think it is. I think it's just the idea that
is it never visiting her nephew since season 1?
Oh man, I was trying to throw something in there about Tracy then, but oh good grief. Yeah, I think it is just this idea that maybe she didn't move fast enough, or you know, maybe she didn't believe Mulder quickly enough, and that's why now everything's falling apart. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's just the fact that Mulder's been lost. She feels like maybe she could have stuck by him in a different way, rather than expending all her efforts trying to clear his name, which right, feels like maybe she should have been out there with him instead of but okay, so Albert Hosteen and Eric find Mulder's body thanks to some buzzards. So I really liked the little speech that Albert gives about, you know, it just shows how the Native American people, that particular tribe, it shows how they're able to decipher things by the lay of the land, something that, you know, people like you and me.
I kind of liked it because it was almost like the anti-David Attenborough, you know, where it's like buzzards, lazy buggers, never get their own dinner, they just always find things. Okay. Although my mind is curious as to how Mulder got to where he is. You know, when this is when they go and find Mulder, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you mean at this point?
Yeah. How he's got from the boxcar to.
Yeah.
This seems to be like in the rocks almost.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm kind of curious as to how that's happened. And we'll get to it. I mean, it's just I've got a lot of problems with the alien hidey hole. I really do. It just seems weird. It just seems weird.
Just that it's there, you mean?
Yes, because it's there. Because the aliens have been locked in there, and at no point have they decided to leave until the gas gets thrown in later on, and then they're like, all right, now we better boost.
No, we better boost. That's not. No, that's the way I see it is like they've been in there a bit like kind of prisoners of war, and they've been tunneling out for quite some time. because they don't actually get out, do they? That's the thing. They're in that tunnel and they're all trapped and kind of. The way I see it is they've been tunneling out there for a while. Obviously never quite broken through, but when the gas gets sent in, they're just trying to push their way into the tunnel. Just that's instinct taking over, and it just, you climb as far away as you can, even though you know it's not going to save you, which it doesn't, because they all die in that tunnel. I guess I think Mulder, like, it's pretty sharp thinking for Mulder, to be honest, which is that, hang on, these bodies are all stacked up in the corner. What were they trying to hide? Or maybe he was just trying to get under the bodies. I don't know. Found the it's not explained particularly well. We're basically just told there's a tunnel. Mulder found it. He got out, and it kind of it's a little bit anticlimactic, if we're being honest. Given how good the season closer was and how tense it was, it was a bit anticlimactic. But
yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I never at any point thought he was dead, Brian.
No. But there is intrigue, because you know he's alive, but the intrigue is, wow, how's he going to get out of this? And then it's just like, oh, there's a tunnel. It's like,
and this episode is one of these episodes where Mulder and Scully aren't really together, but it works tremendously well. And I think because it puts most of its focus onto Scully and the emotional impact of what this has had to her, the hunt for Mulder and finding out truth and figuring out who's behind everything, and then Mulder's trip of getting better. It kind of works very well.
Yeah, and like we've said before, these episodes are all right as long as you give Scully something to do. And when we're in the mythology episodes, they are more likely to give us something to do if they split them apart. Whereas the standalone episodes, Mulder ends up kind of taking centre stage. So trying to yawn. Yeah. I was like,
you're distant Scully, and I instantly lost interest.
How did I diss Scully then? In what way did I diss Scully?
Moving on.
Whatever. Okay, so they found Mulder and they carry him to the Hogan, which is kind of like a tent, to perform what is called a Blessing Way chant, to summon the holy people to bring Mulder back.
No problems. Yeah.
Okay. Scully receives a visit from Frohickey. Yay! Our drunk Frohickey. He just shows up at the door looking a bit wobbly. Like
a couple of buttons undone his shirt.
Okay.
He turns up and he's like, I thought we could comfort each other, and cheeky beggar.
He gives her a newspaper clipping of a story about Kenneth Suner's execution-style killing the day after Mulder went missing. Kenneth Suner obviously being the thinker, the man who gave Mulder these DAT tapes, to which Scully responds, could they be so stupid? To which I'm kind of sat there thinking, eh? What she got? And I'm not seeing it. So clearly evidence that Scully is smarter than me.
And me, I had no idea either.
Yeah. I was intrigued. To see what she got. What she got here. What she kind of cottoned onto. But yeah. So the Blessing Way is performed, and Mulder is visited by none other than Deep Throat and his dad, urging him to go back. In between is a flashback to the killing of the bodies that were in the train car. We see them all trying to get out through a small hole, which we don't need to talk about. because we've already just discussed it. But Deep Throat and his dad.
Yeah. I loved the photography and the way they done this here. It was all weird and wacky, and although it looks odd and it doesn't look the greatest now, it fits because it's a dream sequence, so it doesn't have to look realistic or fantastic. It's supposed to look odd and otherworldly, and I think it works tremendously well. And I was really happy to see Deep Throat back. I knew he wasn't dead. I still can't get over the fact that he is actually gone. You know, that's a whole season ago he died, and I really liked it. I liked it a lot. What about yourself,
the effect of it to me reminds me of Beyond the Sea. You know, when Brad Dourif's character is going to the chair, and we see all these kind of souls around him, don't we? These grey souls. It kind of reminds me of the flip side version of that. If what he saw was the more hellish version of it, this is kind of like the more heaven-ish version.
The good way.
The good way, yeah. But no. What did you think of the dialogue? It felt to me like Mulder's dad. His dialogue seemed a bit more straightforward, and Deep Throat kind of, I don't know. It seemed like an attempt to be really poetic, and I'm not sure they quite pulled it off. Like, I got to the end of it and I'm like, what were you actually saying, Deep Throat?
I don't know if I really cottoned on to it too much, but just listening to the way you're explaining it there, it could be a case of Mulder's perception of how people would talk to him. He, in a fevered dream almost, you know, his dad is straight to the point, down the middle. Deep Throat was never straight to the point. He was never telling the truth, so it was all roundabouts and misdirects. It could be his perception of that's the way that they would speak.
Yeah.
Mighty big supposing.
No, I think it comes down to whether or not you believe this is a dream, or whether or not you believe this is real. This is a genuine, spiritual experience.
See, the problem I've got is I can't really remember the dialogue. It didn't say that it really struck out at me, but I can't really remember the context of it. So, unfortunately,
I've seen this quite a few times, and I think just every time I get to this moment, I find it a bit jarring. Mainly the Deep Throat section. But
I think I was kind of caught off guard with the visuals more than anything.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I liked the scene. I thought it was visually very interesting.
Okay. Okay, so Scully sets off a metal detector when she has to go in through the front door of the FBI. More on that in a moment. She goes to see Skinner about the article and says that if the Thinker was shot with the same gun that shot Mulder's dad, it would clear Mulder. Skinner says no. Throws her insult back in her face, the one she said before about overestimating his authority, and she leaves, and Cancer Man steps into the room and begins to question Skinner.
Again, Skinner, man, I never know where he comes from. I can kind of see this one. He's been a bit of a hard ass because Scully kind of got him off guard the last time, and he wants to kind of put his authority back in place. And B, he's got Cancer Man obviously listening in the room next door, so I can kind of understand him being a little bit of a hard ass here. But I believe he's doing it for Scully's protection.
Yeah, I think he's doing it for Scully's protection. I think also that, and it's in us all. It's and it's in the best of people, that kind of vanity, not not the looking at yourself in the mirror kind of vanity, but the need to get back up when someone's knocked you back down. I think that does play a part, and I think he's able to use that because of the situation that he's in. Like, he probably wouldn't choose to use it if he didn't have Cancer Man in the next room. But because Cancer Man's there, he needs a way of kind of deflecting Scully so it doesn't look like he's on her side. I think he just gives in to some kind of base instinct, which he's easily able to tap into because of their last meeting, I think. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone, really, doesn't it? So Scully tries the metal detector again out of curiosity, and they find something around the base of the neck.
Yeah. I was not expecting this. I was expecting a bug,
right,
of some sort, not something under the skin, an implant of some sort. But again, it's one of those things that just makes you edge closer on the seat. You know, when you're and pay a little bit more attention to the TV, it draws you in actually physically. And I was like, wow, I can't wait to see what this is.
And it all goes back to because the moment they pull that out, I mean, I don't know about you, but you're instantly thinking Dwayne Barry had one of those. It's like, so yeah, the aliens kept coming back for Dwayne Barry. It affected his life, like, throughout his entire life, and so she's starting to find things that is she in for the same kind of treatment he was? I don't know. It just raises a lot of questions, doesn't it? Who put it there? What's its purpose? Are they coming back? This, that, and the other. So, yes, the doctor starts to take out the shrapnel from Scully's neck. Shows it up on the X-ray, and she said, "Oh yeah, I liked his reasoning as well. Like just this idea that you were probably wounded in the line of duty and didn't even know it." Which is it's quite funny. I can imagine that kind of happening, but yeah. So after 3 days, Mulder wakes up and they bathe him and feed him. This is usually the kind of treatment Scully would get, basically. So it's yeah.
I have no problems with it. I'm quite happy with the Scully storyline. Get me back there.
I am. It feels like they're kind of dragging this Blessing Way stuff out a bit for me, but that's mainly because they don't really know what to do with Mulder. But and I know that Chris Carter also has quite a fascination with Native American culture. So
they've appeared in a couple of episodes already.
Yeah, like Shapes was the season 1 episode. So he does look for ways to incorporate it. It's something he's very interested in. But so they look at Scully's shrapnel. It turns out to be a computer chip. Look at it under a microscope, and it looks just like a computer chip. But at this point in time, a computer chip that size hadn't been invented. So. She goes to speak to her sister, who tells her that she needs to go into regressive hypnosis. Scully says no at first. Yeah. She's just like, nope, I'm not into that hippy dippy BS. Get it out of my face, biatch. Yeah. So
it's good to see Melissa back again. Yeah, it's I like the relationship that they have, and I can't wait to see that really evolve over the next couple of seasons. Is what I'm thinking right now. I'm like, good. We've got some, like, it's not just a mum, it's a sister that kind of have that abrasive relationship with each other, I love it.
Yeah, cracking stuff. Okay, so oh man, talk about giving the game away. Okay, so she goes to a psychotherapist to have hypnosis, and she starts talking about men being there and feeling powerless to resist. And then when the doctor kind of touches her hands, she freaks out and is like, nope, I'm done. Bye.
So, I kind of liked it. It gave me flashbacks to Der Hand der Verlies. You know, with the girl telling her story.
Okay, gave me flashbacks to Irresistible when Scully went to see it. When she went to see a psychotherapist and all that kind of stuff. But hey ho. Yeah. Okay, so she gets home, and just as she pulls up in the car, she sees Skinner coming out of her apartment and then driving off.
Yeah.
And she's like,
yeah.
So.
And I was like, why not challenge him? Why not, you know, like hang out the window, but like, cooey, Skinner,
coo, did you need me? Yeah, distrust.
It's everywhere.
Crazy things. Okay, so Albert Hosteen and the boys, as he calls them, give Mulder sunflower seeds as a gift, because apparently Mulder asked for them when he was in his deep coma, whatever it was. Tells Mulder the place he saw in his state is his origin place. So when he was in the Blessing Way, the place that he went to was his origin place. So
just that weird bed of leaves.
It's just like, origin place. Okay, origin is where you begin, or where something begins. So, yeah.
Floating in the sky in a bed of leaves.
It's one of those lines, isn't it? It's kind of it's thrown out there. It kind of takes me back to Red Museum, where we just we'll say something that's a bit vague and we'll leave it there and we'll let you kind of paint the rest of the picture in your head. The thing is, I feel like, and I could be completely wrong, but given Chris Carter's love for the culture, I would imagine this stuff is a real thing. This thing that they call the Blessing Way chant.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's a thing that they've come across in the Indian culture, and they've incorporated it into this episode. So when they use terms like that, it's just a bit vague, isn't it? You kind of wish they'd explain a bit more, but okay. So Scully has a dream. Oh no, hang on. Scully phones Skinner, who denies being at her place. He hangs up and steps outside, away from Cancer Man.
Yeah.
He just these days seems to just be in Skinner's office.
Yeah,
24/7.
Changed in the door. Skinner's and Cancer Man's.
And I'm assuming this is just because Cancer Man right now is feeling the pressure because he's got to find that tape. So he's basically in Skinner's office 24/7. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? So yeah. That night, Scully has a dream about Mulder warning her of an impending danger. She goes to Mulder's dad's funeral. Skin, a bit convoluted. And Scully introduces herself to Mulder's mum and tells her that she has a very strong feeling he's still alive, while the well-manicured man looks on from the distance.
This is bonkers. It's bonkers, man. She just walks up to, hi, I knew your son. He's alive. He's alive. Yeah. It's not like her.
No, it's she's getting in touch with her spiritual side, isn't she?
Yeah, but it's not the kind of thing that she would do. It's the kind of thing that Mulder has done previously to Scully's mum. I
don't know, because we've had this discussion before where we often feel like Scully is, she has a faith, but she's almost kind of suppressed it. Yeah. She doesn't like to act on it because she's kind of built a lot of trust in science and stuff like that. But I feel like that's always there. It's always underneath, kind of waiting to come out. And what better situation would bring that out than the possible death, or the vision that she had of someone who's closest to her dying?
I don't know, because this woman's just, her son's missing. She just buried her husband, and this woman comes out and just be like, "Your son's alive. Oh, do you know that?" Nah, just a feeling.
Wait, yeah, she doesn't say he's alive. She says, "I've got the strongest feeling that he is." But I don't know. I get where you're coming from. Like, even if you feel that, maybe keep it to yourself and hope that it's true. But maybe not get the hopes up of the nearest and dearest just on the off chance it isn't true.
Yes.
But then that's faith, isn't it? That's what faith is. When you feel like you've had a spiritual experience, you either believe it or you don't. And if you believe it, then that's the essence of faith. It's like you feel compelled to tell people about it because it's the truth, and you want other people to know what you consider to be the truth. So in that respect, she is acting in faith. So yeah, I feel like this is a bit of an awakening for her with her faith. A lot of stuff is going on that is very personal. Dealing with the death of Mulder, only to then have him come to her in this vision. And however she feels with that vision, if she feels that that's a genuine spiritual encounter, he's alive, then faith dictates, I've got to tell people about this. So he tells her that a well-manicured man approaches Scully.
What Annie?
I'm just going to call him John Neville from now on. So John Neville approaches her and says that she will be killed in one of two ways. Basically, either by someone you trust, someone close to you, or it will be by a couple of men with an unregistered weapon. I can't remember the exact details, but he's very specific.
Yeah, I would have preferred it if it was even more vague. Like, you'll be killed in two ways, either by someone you know or someone you don't. I knew what this scene was instantly. It's building up tension and putting suspicion on everybody. So you're just waiting on, one of these two ways is going to come for her. You're just not for sure which one it's going to be.
Yeah. So when she asks him who he is, he comes out with this line which I really love, where he says, "We predict the future, and the best way to predict the future is to invent it." John, I think it's Neville's delivery of that.
I put one of his quotes down here where it's motives are rarely unselfish. I've just put down he's kind of like a Machiavellian villain. It's very matter of fact the way he's putting it across. He's not passing the time of day with somebody, but what he's saying is literally life or death. And I think that's the mark of a really good actor who can project one way with his body and his mannerisms and his voice, but with what he's actually saying have a completely different meaning to the way he's putting himself across. I thought it was great. I really liked this scene as well.
Yeah, I did. It's just that. It's the idea that this guy could be completely telling the truth, or he could be completely full of crap, and and that's it. You got to act on it. You got to, is he leading me down the garden path, or is he telling me the truth? Because he needs me to do something. which I can't foresee because he's got his own plan kind of going. But yeah, it's just really well written dialogue, I thought. But
why is he telling her this? You know, is he making a play for the syndicate? Is he trying to work his way up there? Does he genuinely feel aggrieved? Or
well, I think that he doesn't. He genuinely doesn't want Mulder killed. I think, like he says, there's a bit where he says, "I feel like my colleagues have acted too hastily," and I think he's one of those people who kind of wants to run things and lead things with a cool head, not just kind of go shooting everyone and killing half the population. Just every time something goes a bit off the rails. I think he's more a cool-headed kind of person who wants to think things through and yeah. So, but yeah. So not Mulder, Scully. I should say he doesn't want Scully killed because yeah, they're plotting to kill her in some way, and he's a bit why, why. It's unnecessary, and to some extent it will draw more attention to them if they do that as well. So, yeah, okay. So Mulder is waiting for his mother at her house. He questions her, wants to know about his dad and some pictures from 1972. He upsets her, says it has to do with Samantha.
Not interested.
Really?
Yeah. Really.
Really?
Really. Yeah, I don't know, I think the last episode with Samantha kind of changed things about, because I've got a feeling that we're going to see Samantha a lot and it's never going to be her. Do you know what I mean? Because there seems to be these clones of her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of taking the value away from that one special one, because there is now multiples of her.
Right.
I'm interested to what his dad's been up to more.
Yeah. Okay. But I still feel that. Yeah. I mean, like, to me, that's where the intrigue is. It's not so much about finding his sister as finding out. Because he's asking there about the photos, about the men in the photos and things. So to me, that, yeah, I don't know.
I think he's trying to find out more about what his dad has been up to, what his dad has been mixed up in, and that's where I found it more interesting than the sister aspect.
Okay, no worries. So Scully receives a call from her sister. Then from someone who hangs up. She redials her sister to tell her not to come, and she leaves and Skinner pulls up. So yeah, he basically wants to go and talk somewhere private. So dodge. Okay. So
I knew at this moment, as soon as the phone went the second time, I was like, sister's gone.
Yeah.
You just know. I mean, you must have felt the same way when you watched it.
Definitely this time around, yeah. Maybe not so much the first time around, because to be quite honest, it didn't occur to me back then that they would kill a second major character in the space of 2 episodes, because they killed Mulder's father in the previous one, and then they kill Scully's sister in this one. I mean, technically she didn't die till the next episode, but yeah, it's just like even when she gets shot in this, I didn't think they'd kill her. I thought, she'll be in a coma for a couple of episodes, she'll be back. So yeah,
I mean, in the next episode you find out she's been shot but she's still alive. I was like, oh maybe they're going to save her, and then they say, oh, she's been shot in the head, and you're like, chest, arm, leg, that's all right, head.
Okay, so so they go to Mulder's to talk, and Scully pulls her gun on him and sits him down. And this is where we cut to Melissa getting to Scully's, and she's shot by Krycek and some other dude who will be known as the Hispanic Man. So he is in this episode, the next episode, and he will return.
Right, okay. I just thought it was like a Star Trek red shirt.
No, he will return in what for me is my
Just...
I mean, I've told you before. I've already told you in previous episode. It's my favourite two-parter of all time. You know, it's like Colony and Endgame was kind of the one to live up to.
Don't mention it, because I've clearly forgot what episodes they are.
Okay, all right, no worries. Okay, so where are we? Yeah, so Melissa gets shot by the Hispanic Man, and you can actually see that it is him who shoots her. So when they're in the dark, you see the flash from the and I was paying attention this time round because I wanted to know who does shoot her. Is it Krycek or is it the other dude? So I was looking very carefully, and when you see the flash in the dark from the gun, it's coming from the Hispanic Man, and then it's the Hispanic Man who puts the gun on the floor. So
that's a shame, because it would have been I don't mean that's a shame, but it would have been nice if it was Krycek, because then she has that thing of letting him go when she shoots Mulder.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the fact that he's there is enough, quite frankly. Yeah, they're both culpable. They're both there to make sure she's dead. Regardless of who pulled the trigger, they're both just as guilty. So,
fair point.
Yeah. So, final scene. Skinner says he has the tape. Someone is at the door distracting Scully, so Skinner pulls his gun, and they end up in a bit of a stalemate with their guns pointed at each other. To be continued.
So Scully is a highly trained officer. Yep, and she knows that Skinner is equally highly trained, and I think it's alluded to some kind of army background before. And they are agents of the law and do carry handcuffs, but she decides that the safest way to immobilise him is to have him to sit on his own hands. She should have handcuffed him, hog-tied him, whatever she had to do to subdue him, to make sure that he would never get the upper hand.
I don't think she wants to make physical contact with the guy. She, like you said, she knows he does have military experience, so if she goes to handcuff him...
Just throw him the cuffs. Handcuff yourself.
I don't know. I think she just wants to put him down, stay there, start talking. For one, she's not expecting someone to turn up at the door. She's got a gun on him the whole time. He's sat on his hands. What's going to happen? So the fact that somebody comes to the door isn't really something that's going through her mind. And if they hadn't come to the door, then he wouldn't have got one over on her.
And it really does. It's a good scene though, because it ramps up the tension and leaves you on one of those cliffhangers.
Yeah.
I need to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
Or that's how I feel.
Yeah. No, I did. It's a good scene. Having them both kind of bit of a. It's not quite a Mexican standoff, is it? You have to have more people involved in a Mexican standoff. But
I think 3's the standard.
Yeah, right. 3's the standard. Okay. Do you want to wrap up?
Sure. I don't.
Unless you want me to do it.
Yeah, go. You go first, Brian.
I like this episode, but of this trilogy, because this is a 3-part episode, I'd say it's the weakest, and I think that's a lot of that is to do with what a lot of trilogies kind of have to suffer with, like proper trilogies. I mean, which is that you're neither setting something up nor concluding something. So you literally are just a middle segment of a film, which is never the most interesting part of a film. So other than, so as a standalone episode, you can't really treat it as a standalone episode. But as the middle part of this larger story, I'm intrigued. I'm liking this well-manicured man character. This big part because of John Neville. Just like I say, one of the best pieces of casting that I think they've ever had on the show, to be honest. A few shocks, like Scully's sister getting taken out, especially given that we've just had Mulder's father as well. It just feels like loved ones are dropping like flies. So the shock value there. I do love the conclusion. I think Mulder's character suffers a bit in this one. He's not really given much to do. He's just essentially he's got to wake up. Really, I'm not that big on the dream sequences he has. I don't think they really tell us anything about Mulder in a spiritual sense or anything like that. It's just an excuse to bring characters back from previous seasons and have them say go back into the light, which fair enough, whatever. I think the lack of anything real for Mulder to do in this brings it down a little bit. But everything else that's going on with Scully, I'm really invested in. I like her investigation, the whole thing with the chip being found in the neck. It's just intrigue. This one, essentially, while it doesn't conclude anything, it just throws a load of things in that build intrigue, that make you want to see that last part, that make you want to see the third episode. You feel like they've got a lot to wrap up, and I want to see how they're going to wrap it up. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I do. I like it. It's very solid. So yeah. 4.
It's a funny one. It's a funny episode. I don't feel that it really puts much or does much wrong. It has some really interesting points in it with the Scully's shrapnel, with the Syndicate, which I'm really kind of liking just now. Cancer Man's kind of all over this episode, and we find out a little bit more about him and his sort of crew and how they all seem to be almost infighting, secretively infighting amongst each other for priority, I think. And I don't know, there's something about this episode that it's not as great as some of the other mythology episodes that we've had, but I can't really pinpoint anything that's particularly wrong with it. It's one of those ones where I just have a feeling of a score, which is 4 out of 5, and I think that's fair. Honestly, I thought you were going to go higher than that, Brian.
No, I do think it's a bit disjointed. Like Anasazi was it raced along, and we had the setup, and even though it ended with a to be continued, it was a solid conclusion. I've got
to imagine watching all 3 episodes, the first one's all boom 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 boom, moving really fast, and then all of a sudden unconscious Mulder, 20 minutes of a dream sequence stretched out. It just kind of would kill the pace of this.
No. I thought it worked better when they released it as a film. Like I say, this they released the 2-parters and the 3-parters on video in the 90s as films with all the credits taken out, properly edited together. So you just felt it as one movie. And I loved this one, and I watched it loads. I watched it to death, to be honest. And I always felt that it worked better. I always felt this section, this episode worked better once you saw it in the context of the whole movie than it did on its own. And that's, like I say, because you've got such a strong start, not to give the game away, but what I think is quite a strong conclusion with the next episode. It does. It just, yeah.
Okay. So, tell us a little bit about Paperclip.
Well, yeah, it's, you know,
The concluding
it's the
part.
conclusion of this this trilogy. So you kind of know roughly where we're at, what kind of episode we're in. It concludes it. It raises some questions by giving us some answers, which is basically what the X-Files is famous for. You know, all the answers they give always end up raising more questions. But yeah. It's solid.
Yeah. Good. I'm looking forward to the final part and see if they manage to stick the landing or not. Yeah. So make sure and join us next episode. We will be discussing Paperclip. Thanks for watching.